Hey everyone, welcome back to the Microwave Lab here. I've been working on this Ranger RCI, what is the model? 6, I'm trying to read it upside down, 696 FD1, FD1 being Freedom 1 for the American flag pattern on the front. But I've been troubleshooting this radio for a while now because of a no transmit diagnosis, and I checked the receive and that works fine. And maybe I'll make a video on that, but there are other videos that you can watch to find that out. But so mainly what I did was I just went through with a multimeter, checked all the power transistors, make sure nothing was shorted, nothing was funky, and I haven't really had an interest in making like a beginning to end troubleshooting video on this radio. I've just been making like one-off videos about different techniques I've been using, and I had a video about testing this audio chip. I desoldered it and made an external circuit on a breadboard to test it out, and that worked fine. And so it turns out, I don't know if maybe in working I fixed something, or I was just had my setup wrong, but it's transmitting fine now, and I could show. I think what the problem was is when I got it, well, the guy who gave it to me is a friend of ours. He's been into radios for a long time, and he had this laying around not working, so he let me take a crack at fixing it. And I had this knob on the side is the power adjustment for this RFX 70 or RFX 75, RX 75. I don't remember off the top of my head, but this little add-on amplifier. And so what happened was when I got it, it was set who knows where, probably very high, and the out of the speaker I was getting some really wonky talkback, and it was doing some weird things, and the output waveform was unstable and looked weird. So what I ended up doing was, the problem was, for me anyways, I have these two power supplies capable of putting out in parallel about 6 amps, and that's even pushing it a little bit. They don't sync up very well, and that's just kind of how it goes with power supplies in parallel. One puts out more power than the other. So I I just dialed this back down as low as I could go, and then turned it up just so I was getting about 4 watts dead key, which is reasonable enough for the power supplies to put out. It was about 2 amps they were putting out to achieve that. And yeah, and the transmit is fine now. It's overmodulating a little bit, but that's a peripheral issue. So that's the update on that. But what I wanted to do to show it transmitting, and of course you could use an oscilloscope. I had it hooked up a minute ago to verify the waveform, and it looks just fine. The dead key carrier, and then modulating the audio looks okay, other than overmodulating a little bit, and the swing is a little bit high. But anyway, the other technique that I wanted to show was using another radio to test your receive. Now, obviously in the lab here, we can't really, I mean, you could set up an antenna, but the SWR wouldn't be very good, and it's not really a practical setup. I only have one really good antenna, and it's attached to my car right now. So I'm using the GE Help little handheld emergency CB, and I have this connected directly to the radio, but it's going through an attenuator. So I've got this PL259, this is the same connector, PL259 to BNC cable over to this big attenuator here, and I have dialed in, let's see, 20, 40, 60, 80, 90 dB of attenuation. Now, I don't know, with a 4-watt dead key and this amount of attenuation, you could go through and calculate how much power is actually getting through, but I just dialed in a whole bunch to, you obviously don't want 4 watts going directly into the receive of another radio, because the radios aren't designed to take in that kind of power. So I just cranked this up most of the way. In fact, I backed it off a little bit. I had all of these on, and I was even prepared to add some more attenuators, but this is fine. Attenuation, it's maybe I could use a little bit more, but if this radio dies, I won't be too sad. But anyway, this is just the I want to get on here with the video, but I think what the crux of the diagnosis for no transmit was that the talkback isn't working. So I've got the mic connected to the radio here, and we have no talkback, but we can listen to the receive over here on the GE Help. And so I'm going to try to talk a little bit far away from the radio, just so we don't get any feedback, which was a problem a little while ago. So let's see how it goes. Audio check, audio check, audio check, audio check, audio check. So you can hear it in there, hopefully, other than just my voice behind the camera. I'm going to turn up the volume just a little bit. Audio check, audio double check, audio check. Audio check. It wasn't really in frame there. I was trying to turn my head away from the radio over here so we wouldn't get any feedback. But yeah, you can see it's receiving just fine, or this is receiving the signal from this radio just fine. So that means transmit on here is actually working now. Luckily, I mean, I don't know if it's luckily, but now the problem is TalkBack isn't working. Which at first I'm going to check the speaker with a function generator. That's probably I'd be hard pressed to see if the speaker isn't working. But and in fact, it should still be working because the receive worked and I was able to get a tone out of the speaker. So what's the problem? I'm not sure. I'm thinking maybe a transmit relay where it switches over to the relay should switch between receive and transmit. And I'm not sure if that's a general switching of the entire radio or if that's just the audio section. So that might be an issue where it switches to the speaker will play sound from the receive or versus play transmit versus receive relay. But the other options are, I guess, maybe a separate transistor or amplifier for the talkback circuitry. So that could be kind of hard to diagnose, but it is a sort of a peripheral problem of the radio, and it still transmits and receives fine. So, talkback is kind of nice to hear how you sound and just make sure your mic's working okay. It's just a nice little sanity check to have in a radio. But anyway, I'm going to continue with the diagnosis on this. I'm not going to schlep through hours and hours or tens of minutes of video to show you guys what I'm doing. But I'll just give the highlights and show how I diagnosed and fixed the problem if I can. But for now, the radio's working 90% of the way. It'd be nice to have talkback. But anyway, that's all for this video. Just wanted to show a little technique with a secondary radio. This idea was actually a classmate of mine. He said little handheld units are fun for checking your own radio in your car. I can grab this and walk a few feet away from my car, check my antenna, check the receive, whatever. So so if you can pick up one of these this was $15 on Craigslist. I think I mentioned in another video. You can get them on eBay for about the same. So it's a good tool to have, and it doesn't draw that much power. I'm running it off a 1.8 amp wall wart, and it draws about an amp on transmit, maybe 1.2 amps, just to give you an idea of how much power you'll need. So that's about it for this video. I hope you learned something about this little test technique, and wish me luck on this Ranger radio fix. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.